Most people lose power before the conversation even begins. Not because they are weak, but because they speak too soon. The moment someone questions you, accuses you, or even subtly doubts you, and you rush to explain, you've already accepted a lower position. You think you're defending yourself. What you're actually doing is asking for permission to be respected. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The one who reacts, submits. The one who remains still controls the frame. This video isn't about winning arguments. It's about learning the one psychological move that instantly flips any power dynamic. Without raising your voice, without confrontation, without saying more than necessary. If you've ever wondered why calm people always seem untouchable, this is the reason. If someone can force you to explain yourself, they already control you. Not because they are smarter, stronger, or more important, but because you reacted. The moment you rush to clarify, defend, or justify, you step into a lower position without realizing it. Power does not announce itself. It reveals itself in who stays still and who feels the need to move. Most people believe power comes from winning arguments, proving innocence, or being understood. That belief alone keeps them permanently vulnerable. Because the one who explains is not leading the interaction, he is responding to it. And response is submission, wearing the mask of logic. If you are here to feel motivated, leave now. This space is not built for emotional relief. It is built for people who want control over how they are perceived, treated, and positioned. Subscribe only if you are willing to drop the instinct to defend your image and replace it with strategic restraint. This is not about being liked. It is about being untouchable. Every idea here will quietly strip away behaviors that make you predictable, reactive, and easy to manipulate. Stay only if you are prepared to see yourself honestly and change accordingly. Think about the last time someone questioned you. A colleague implying incompetence, a friend suggesting selfishness, a partner hinting that you always do something wrong. Notice what happened inside your body before you even spoke. A rush, a tightening, an urge to correct the record. You didn't pause to choose your response. You reacted. You explained your intentions, your context, your side. And while you were busy talking, the other person stayed calm, watching, judging, deciding. In that moment, the power had already shifted. Not because you were wrong, but because you accepted their frame. This reaction is not accidental. It is biological. Your nervous system interprets accusation as a threat to belonging. The body prepares for defense. Heart rate rises, breathing shortens. The mind narrows to one objective: restore status. But here is the trap. Every word spoken from that state carries need. Need to be cleared. Need to be validated. Need to be seen as good, competent, reasonable. And need is visible. It leaks through tone, pacing, and urgency. The more you try to prove yourself, the more you reveal that your self-image is negotiable. This is where most people misunderstand power. They think power is loud. It is not. Power is the ability to remain unmoved when someone else tries to move you. The highest position in any interaction belongs to the person who does not feel compelled to explain. Because explanation accepts a premise that the other person has the authority to judge you. Once you accept that premise, you have already lost leverage. You may win the argument, you may sound reasonable, but you have confirmed a hierarchy where they question and you answer. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago while observing rulers, courts, and power struggles. Those who rushed to defend themselves appeared weak, even when innocent. Those who remained composed, selective, and slow to justify were perceived as higher status, even when accused. Power was never about truth alone. It was about perception and control of the frame. The ruler who explained invited scrutiny. The ruler who withheld forced others to doubt themselves. Silence, when intentional, was never emptiness. It was pressure. This is where the divide forms. Emotional people believe being understood is safety. Strategic people know being unshakable is safety. One group spends life managing impressions. The other lets impressions collapse on their own. Emotional people chase fairness. Strategic people observe dynamics. Emotional people answer quickly to relieve discomfort. Strategic people allow discomfort to do the work for them. If this feels uncomfortable to hear, that is not an accident. It means you recognize the habit. And recognition is the first fracture in the old pattern. Before learning what to say, or whether to speak at all, you must first understand what is actually happening when a power dynamic flips. Because this shift does not occur in dramatic confrontations, it happens in subtle moments. A raised eyebrow, a casual accusation, a quiet implication. The trick is not aggression. It is not dominance posturing. It is the removal of reaction. Once you see how often you surrender position without realizing it, restraint stops feeling passive. It becomes deliberate. And from that point forward, silence is no longer absence. It is control. Every power exchange follows a structure, whether you notice it or not. The moment someone questions you, a silent courtroom forms. One person becomes the judge, the other becomes the defendant. The judge does not rush. The defendant does. The judge asks, implies, or simply observes. The defendant fills the space with words. This is why explaining feels necessary. It places you in the role that must speak, and roles, once accepted, are difficult to escape. Power is not taken by force in these moments. It is handed over through participation. You were trained for this role long before adulthood. As a child, silence after accusation meant punishment. Explanation meant survival. Teachers demanded reasons. Parents demanded justification. Authority rewarded those who responded quickly and politely. That conditioning never left your nervous system. So when someone questions you now, the body reacts as if authority is present, even when it is not. The reflex is old, automatic, unexamined. And that is why it works against you. Because modern power dynamics reward the opposite behavior. Silence is misunderstood because most people use it accidentally, not intentionally. Awkward silence is weakness. Controlled silence is pressure. When you do not rush to explain, the other person begins to feel exposed. They expected defense. They prepared for resistance. Instead, they face stillness. And stillness removes their momentum. The questioner becomes the one wondering whether they overstepped, whether they misjudged, whether they lack authority. The frame starts to wobble, not because you attacked it, but because you refused to support it. Humans are uncomfortable with unresolved tension. When you don't fill the space, the other person often will. They clarify their accusation. They soften it. They walk it back. Not because you convinced them, but because uncertainty makes people reveal their position. This is the power vacuum. Whoever rushes to fill it loses leverage. Whoever allows it to expand gains it. This is why high-status individuals speak less, not more. Their silence forces others to negotiate against themselves. Silence does not mean muteness. It means precision. If words are used, they are minimal and non-committal. Short acknowledgments without emotional weight. Neutral observations without agreement or resistance. No urgency. No defense. No attempt to look innocent. The goal is not to convince. It is to refuse the role of defendant. When your tone remains flat and your pace slow, the other person feels the imbalance immediately, even if they cannot explain why. There is a moment when silence alone is not enough. This is where the most counterintuitive tactic appears. Instead of denying an accusation, you accept it, calmly, and exaggerate it slightly. Not with sarcasm, not with emotion. With detachment. This removes the accuser's weapon instantly, because accusations feed on resistance. When there is nothing to resist, the structure collapses. The person expected defense. What they receive instead is indifference. When you agree without shame, you remove the emotional reward from the interaction. The accuser loses their leverage because leverage depends on your need to protect identity. Once that need disappears, their words lose force. They either escalate and look unreasonable, or retreat and look uncertain. Both outcomes benefit you. This is not submission. It is dominance through non-attachment. You are signaling that your self-concept does not require approval, correction, or validation. At this point, something subtle changes inside you. You stop experiencing accusations as threats. They become information. Signals of insecurity, projection, or attempted control. The interaction slows. Your body stays relaxed. Your mind stays clear. And when this happens consistently, people begin to approach you differently. Carefully, indirectly, with restraint, because they sense something has shifted. And next, you will understand how high-status individuals maintain this position without effort, by turning emotional reactions into quiet amusement rather than resistance. The final signal of dominance is not silence alone. It is amusement without engagement, not mockery, not arrogance. A quiet recognition that what is happening does not require your emotional energy. When someone attempts to provoke, accuse, or destabilize you, and your response is calm curiosity or mild amusement, the dynamic flips instantly, because amusement implies position. It suggests you are observing, not participating, and the observer always holds the higher ground. Anger feels powerful, but it is reactive. It announces that something external has reached inside and moved you. That movement is visible. Even when justified, anger places you in motion, while the other person remains still. High-status individuals avoid anger not because they are passive, but because anger gives information. It tells others where your boundaries are fragile, what triggers you, what can be used again. Calm, on the other hand, reveals nothing. This is why seasoned power holders respond to emotional outbursts the way an adult responds to a child's frustration, not with superiority, but with detachment. They do not correct every statement. They do not argue every point. They allow emotion to burn itself out. When you adopt this internal posture, not outwardly, but internally, you stop reacting to tone and focus only on intent. The person in front of you senses it immediately. Their energy drops. Their leverage dissolves. Labels are one of the most common tools used to regain control over you. Arrogant, cold, difficult. These labels are bait. They exist to pull you back into explanation. The moment you try to correct the label, you accept it as relevant. High-status behavior ignores labels entirely, not defensively, not defiantly, simply by not responding to them as if they matter. Identity remains self-defined, untouched by external naming. There is a deeper layer to this. The reason accusations work is because they touch something unresolved inside you. A doubt, a fear, a flaw you secretly try to hide. When you stop hiding, the weapon disappears. Owning your imperfections privately makes public attacks ineffective. Nothing sticks when there is nothing to protect. This is not self-deprecation. It is internal alignment. And alignment creates psychological armor that cannot be pierced by opinion. At this stage, emotional sovereignty becomes natural. You no longer feel responsible for how others interpret you. You recognize that their reactions belong to them. Their discomfort is not yours to manage. Their misunderstanding is not yours to correct. This detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. And clarity removes the urgency that weakens most people in moments of tension. Something predictable happens when you maintain this posture consistently. People become cautious around you, not fearful, measured. They choose words more carefully. Accusations become rare. Passive aggression fades, not because you confronted it, but because it stopped working. Power dynamics are self-correcting systems. When a tactic yields no reward, it is abandoned. Your calm teaches others how to treat you. By now, the pattern should be clear. Power does not come from dominating others. It comes from removing their ability to dominate you. This shift is subtle, internal, and irreversible once seen. But insight alone is not enough. To lock this identity in place, behavior must change in the real world, consistently, deliberately, and without exception. And that begins with a simple constraint that forces transformation rather than intention. Most people understand these ideas intellectually and still fail to embody them. Not because the concepts are complex, but because consistency is uncomfortable. The old reflex to explain feels safer than silence. The urge to correct feels more natural than restraint. This is where power is actually decided, not in dramatic moments, but in repeated small choices. Every time you explain unnecessarily, you reinforce the old identity. Every time you pause instead, you weaken it. Power is not claimed once. It is practiced until it becomes automatic. For the next 7 days, impose one rule on yourself. Do not explain unless directly required for function, not emotion. No clarifying your intentions, no defending your tone, no correcting misunderstandings that do not materially affect outcomes. Let assumptions exist. Let discomfort remain unresolved. This is not avoidance. It is exposure. You are retraining your nervous system to survive without validation. The first few days will feel unnatural. That is the withdrawal phase. Initially, silence will feel like loss. You will imagine reputational damage. You will fear being misjudged. This is the ego reacting to loss of control. But watch closely. People begin to soften their stance. They add disclaimers. They rephrase. Some will become nervous. Others will become respectful. Not because you demanded anything, but because you stopped playing the expected role. The power dynamic recalibrates without confrontation. By the midpoint of this constraint, something internal changes. The urge to explain weakens. The pause becomes comfortable. You stop rehearsing defenses in your head. Emotional energy is conserved. Interactions feel shorter, cleaner, less draining. You are no longer negotiating your identity in real time. And when you do choose to speak, your words carry more weight, not because there are more of them, but because they are rare. There will be moments where silence alone is insufficient. Authority may require response. Strategy may require clarity. The difference now is choice. You speak because it serves your objective, not because you are pressured. Your tone remains level. Your explanation is factual, not personal. You give information without self-justification. This distinction is subtle, but it is felt immediately by others. They sense that your words are not defensive. They are deliberate. Over time, a reputation forms around this behavior. People describe it vaguely. hard to read, calm, solid. These labels emerge without effort because you stopped managing perception directly. Paradoxically, the less you try to control how you are seen, the more stable that perception becomes. You are no longer reactive material, and power at its core is simply the absence of exploitable reactions. At this point, the old identity begins to feel distant. The version of you that argued, justified, and rushed to be understood feels inefficient, almost foreign. This separation is necessary. Power requires abandoning behaviors that once felt protective. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming precise. And precision always replaces excess when growth is real. What remains now is not technique, but identity. Once reaction is removed, what fills the space is presence. Others feel it before they understand it. And when presence becomes consistent, power no longer needs to be flipped. It becomes the default state you operate from. The final step is not learning something new, but accepting what you have already become.